The voice message lasted exactly 47 seconds. I know because I played it 6 times before my hands stopped shaking enough to set down my phone. It was a Tuesday morning, September 12, 2023, at 8:47 a.m. I remember because I was sitting at my kitchen table with my second cup of Earl Grey tea, still warm in my favorite porcelain cup, the one with the tiny roses that my late husband Harold gave me on our 30th anniversary. The morning sun was streaming through the lace curtains I'd hung myself 20 years ago, making patterns on the oak table that had seen countless family dinners. My phone buzzed. A WhatsApp message from Emily, my daughter-in-law. We messaged often, or at least I thought we did. Pictures of my grandson, recipe exchanges, little updates about Michael's work schedule. I smiled when I saw her name, expecting maybe a photo from 6-year-old Tyler's soccer practice. I tapped the voice message icon, expecting her sweet voice asking if I could watch Tyler this weekend, or maybe telling me about a sale at the grocery store. Instead, I heard this. Brittany? Oh my God. I can't believe this is finally happening. Michael is so stupid. He has no idea. His mother's house is worth at least $650,000. I had it appraised secretly last month. Once we get Michael to convince her to sign the deed over for estate planning purposes, we're golden. The old woman trusts him completely. She'll sign anything he puts in front of her. There was laughter. Emily's laughter. The same laugh I'd heard across birthday dinners and Christmas mornings. And the life insurance policy she set up? $200,000 with Michael as the sole beneficiary. She's 72. Gerald. How much longer can she really have? 5 years? 10 at most? Michael's already been planting seeds about how expensive her medications are, how she's becoming forgetful. She doesn't suspect a thing. The best part? She thinks I love her. She actually tears up when I call her mom. It's almost too easy. Another voice, male in the background. What about your husband? Won't he figure it out? Michael? More laughter. He's too focused on trying to get that promotion at work. Plus, I've been careful. Very careful. Once we have everything transferred, I'm filing for divorce. I've already talked to Richard. You know that lawyer I mentioned? He says with the prenup Michael signed, I'll get half of everything acquired during the marriage, including whatever we can squeeze out of his mother before she, well, you know. The message ended. There was no goodbye, no sign-off, just silence. I sat there for what felt like hours but was probably only minutes. The tea went cold. The sun moved across the table. A cardinal landed on the bird feeder outside my window, the one Michael had helped me install last spring, laughing as we tried to figure out the instructions together. My son, my Michael, my baby boy who I'd rocked through colic, who I'd taught to ride a bicycle, who I'd worked double shifts at the hospital to put through college when his father passed away. The boy who used to bring me dandelions from the yard and called them sunshine flowers. He didn't know. I was certain of that. Michael was many things, hardworking, loyal, sometimes too trusting. But he wasn't cruel. He wasn't a schemer. Emily had woven him into her plot without him even realizing he was part of it. But what they didn't know was that I had already been planning. They didn't know that this 72-year-old woman had one more card to play. They didn't know that I'd spent 45 years as a registered nurse, where I'd learned to document everything, trust my instincts, and never, ever underestimate someone just because of their age. 2 months earlier, on a humid July morning, I'd had my first real suspicion that something was wrong. I was on my usual morning walk through Riverside Park, the same route I'd taken for 15 years since Harold passed. 6 a.m. sharp, 3 miles, ending at the bench by the duck pond where I'd meet my friend Virginia for coffee from our thermoses. Virginia was 75, a retired schoolteacher with sharp eyes and sharper intuition. "Dorothy," she said that morning, stirring her coffee thoughtfully. "I don't want to overstep, but I saw Emily yesterday at the Starbucks on Main Street." "Oh," I smiled. "Was Tyler with her?" "No." Virginia's face was troubled. "She was with a man, not Michael. They were sitting very close, Dorothy, holding hands across the table, and the way they were looking at each other. She trailed off. I felt my smile freeze. Maybe it was a work colleague? Emily's in marketing. They have lunch meetings. At 9 a.m.? And they kissed, honey. Not a friendly kiss. A kiss. I'd laughed it off, made excuses. Emily and Michael seemed happy. They'd just celebrated their 8th anniversary in June. I'd watched Tyler that night while they went to an expensive restaurant downtown, the Sterling Room, where appetizers started at $35. Emily had texted me photos of her lobster risotto, but Virginia's words planted a seed of doubt. The next incident came 3 weeks later, on July 28th. Emily had invited me to lunch at her house, a beautiful 4-bedroom colonial in the Willow Creek subdivision that I'd helped them with the down payment on. $45,000 from my savings, given freely because I wanted my son and grandson to have a good home. I arrived early, as was my habit. I still drove my 2015 Honda Accord, the one Harold and I had bought together. It ran perfectly well, despite Michael's recent suggestions that I should consider giving up driving and rely more on rides from family. The front door was unlocked. I called out, "Emily, it's Dorothy." No answer. I could hear her voice from upstairs talking on the phone. I was about to sit in the living room to wait when I heard my name. Dorothy's house would sell in a week in this market. Michael says she's been having trouble with her memory. We could probably convince her she already agreed to let us handle her finances. She trusts us completely. My blood went cold. The key is making sure Michael stays convinced he's doing the right thing for his mother. He's so worried about her living alone. Last week, I accidentally unplugged her coffee maker and mentioned to Michael that she'd called me confused about why it wasn't working. He was immediately concerned. It's all about creating the narrative, you know? I quietly left through the front door, got in my car, and drove home. My hands shook the entire way. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in the bed I'd shared with Harold for 42 years, staring at the ceiling, processing what I'd heard. Was I overreacting? Was this really happening? At 3 a.m., I got up and did what I'd always done when faced with a problem. I made a list. Nurses are good at lists. We have to be. I titled it, "Things That Don't Add Up." Michael suddenly concerned about my memory, which was fine. I balanced my checkbook, took my medications correctly, never missed appointments. Emily's increasing suggestions that I should simplify my finances by adding Michael to my accounts, just in case. The mysterious man Virginia saw. The conversation I'd overheard about creating a narrative, Michael's new interest in my estate planning. He'd brought it up 3 times in the past month, always saying it was just to make sure everything is in order. At the bottom, I wrote, "I could be wrong. I hope I'm wrong. But if I'm right, I need proof." The next morning, I called my friend Raymond from the hospital where I'd worked for 30 years before retiring. Raymond was 68, a former ER doctor who'd gone back to school and become a lawyer specializing in elder law. We'd kept in touch, met for lunch occasionally, traded stories about our grandchildren. "Raymond, I need advice," I said over coffee at Bernie's Diner on August 4th. Hypothetically speaking, if someone suspected they were being financially manipulated by family members, what should they do? Raymond set down his coffee cup. His expression turned serious. "Dorothy, is this hypothetical, or is this about you?" I told him everything. The overheard conversation, Virginia's observation, Michael's sudden concern about my competence. Raymond pulled out a legal pad and started writing. "First, you document everything, dates, times, exact words if possible. Second, you secure your assets immediately. Do you have any accounts with Michael's name on them?" "No. Harold taught me to always maintain financial independence. My checking account, savings, investment portfolio, all in my name only." "Good. Keep it that way. If they ask you to add Michael's name to anything, decline politely. Say your financial advisor recommended against it for tax purposes." He looked at me seriously. "Dorothy, I hate to say this, but you need to consider the worst-case scenario. If Emily is planning what you think she's planning, she's probably gathering information on all your assets. What should I do? Get ahead of her. Update your will with specific provisions. Consider establishing a trust, and most importantly, start documenting every interaction, every conversation. Save every text message and email. If this goes where I think it might go, you'll need evidence. I left that lunch with a plan and a hollow feeling in my stomach. This was my son we were talking about. My Emily, or at least the Emily I thought I knew. That week I began my documentation project. I bought a leather-bound journal from the bookstore, $23.95, I still have the receipt, and started recording everything. Every phone call with Michael, every visit from Emily, every odd occurrence. August 10th, Emily called to ask about my jewelry, specifically my engagement ring and the pearl necklace Harold's mother left me. Said she was just curious about the appraisal values for insurance purposes. I told her I'd need to check my paperwork. August 15th, Michael stopped by unannounced, seemed agitated, asked if I'd been paying my bills on time. When I showed him my organized file system, every bill paid automatically, every receipt filed, he seemed almost disappointed. August 19th, Emily invited me to lunch. Suggested I should consider moving to a nice retirement community where I'd have more social interaction. Showed me brochures for Golden Years Estate, starting at $4,500 per month. I smiled and said I'd think about it, knowing full well my house was paid off and my monthly expenses were under $2,000. August 23rd, Virginia called me after her bridge club meeting. Dorothy, I heard something. Clarice Morrison's daughter works at First National Bank. She said Emily came in last week asking about the process for someone to gain power of attorney over an elderly parent. Clarice's daughter thought it was strange because Emily isn't even your biological daughter. My heart raced. Did she give Emily any information? No. Sarah, that's Clarice's daughter, said she explained that power of attorney requires the person's willing consent or a court order proving incompetence. Emily asked about the competence evaluation process. I thanked Virginia and immediately called Raymond. That afternoon, I drove to his office and signed papers establishing a revocable living trust with very specific conditions. Everything I owned, the house, my savings, my investments, even my car, went into the trust. Raymond was named as trustee, with instructions that would only activate if I became genuinely incapacitated, as determined by 2 independent physicians. This protects you, Raymond explained. Even if someone tried to get power of attorney, they couldn't access the trust assets. And Dorothy, I'm putting in a provision that specifically requires my approval for any major financial decisions, even if you seem to consent. That way, if someone is coercing you, I can intervene. The paperwork cost $3,200. I paid it gladly. It was the best money I'd ever spent. But I didn't tell Michael or Emily about any of this. Instead, I played the role they seemed to expect, the sweet, slightly confused elderly mother who was grateful for their concern. August 30th, Emily asked if she could help organize my important documents. Said she'd been reading about how seniors should have everything in one place, just in case. I thanked her and said my accountant was already helping with that. September 1st, Michael brought Tyler to visit, my beautiful grandson with his gap-toothed smile and collection of Pokémon cards. While Emily took Tyler to the bathroom, Michael said, "Mom, Emily and I have been talking. We think it would be easier for everyone if you gave us a copy of your house key. You know, in case of emergency." I already had concerns by then, but that moment crystallized everything. My son, my sweet Michael, was being used. I could see it in his eyes. He genuinely believed he was being helpful, protective. He had no idea Emily was orchestrating this. "Of course, sweetheart," I said, keeping my voice light. "But I just had the locks changed last month. Let me get a copy made this week." I never got that copy made. September 5th, I joined a WhatsApp group Virginia had created, Golden Girls Support Network. 5 women, all between 70 and 78, all dealing with some form of family difficulty. We shared advice, resources, and most importantly, evidence of what we were experiencing. Margaret, 76, was dealing with a grandson trying to force her into selling her house and moving into his basement. Susan, 73, had a daughter who'd already stolen $15,000 from her account before she caught on. Beatrice, 78, was fighting her son's attempt to declare her incompetent so he could access her late husband's pension. We called ourselves the Golden Girls, but we were more like a resistance movement. We shared lawyer recommendations, documented our experiences, and reminded each other that we weren't crazy, we weren't confused, and we deserved to be treated with dignity. It was Margaret who suggested I install a doorbell camera. "Dorothy, you need to document who comes and goes, especially when you're not home." On September 8th, I had a Ring doorbell installed. $249.99, installed by a nice young man named Kevin who reminded me of Michael at that age. I didn't tell anyone about it. That decision would prove crucial. September 10th, the doorbell camera captured Emily and a man I didn't recognize entering my house at 2:15 p.m. I was at my monthly book club meeting at the library. My calendar clearly showed that appointment. Emily had a key from years ago, from when she used to water my plants during vacations. They were inside for 47 minutes. When I checked the interior cameras I'd also installed, small ones, hidden in picture frames, Virginia's suggestion, I watched Emily photograph my filing cabinet, my desk drawers, even the inside of my jewelry box. The man with her took pictures of my mail on the counter, my checkbook, my medication bottles. I saved all the footage, backed it up to 3 different locations. Raymond advised me to not confront them yet. "We're building a case, Dorothy. Every piece of evidence matters." September 12th. The voice message arrived. After listening to that message 6 times, I sat at my kitchen table and cried. Not gentle tears, ugly, heaving sobs that seemed to come from somewhere deep in my chest. I cried for the daughter-in-law I thought I had. I cried for my son, being manipulated by someone who was supposed to love him. I cried for my grandson, who would grow up with this woman as his mother. But most of all, I cried for myself, for the loneliness of realizing that the family I'd thought I had was partially an illusion. When the tears stopped, I did what I always did. I made tea and I made a plan. I saved the voice message, backed it up to Google Drive, emailed it to Raymond, and sent it to the WhatsApp group. Margaret responded immediately. "Oh, Dorothy, oh, honey, we're here. Tell us what you need." What I needed was evidence, lots of it, undeniable evidence. I texted Emily back. "Thanks for the message, dear. See you Sunday for dinner." I wanted her to think I'd only heard some innocent voice note, that I hadn't caught her mistake. Then I called Raymond. "I have it. The smoking gun. She said it all in a voice message meant for someone else." "Forward it to me immediately. Dorothy, this changes everything. This isn't just suspicion anymore. This is proof of intent to defraud, possibly even conspiracy to commit elder abuse. We need to move fast." "What do I do?" "First, you protect yourself. Change your will immediately to remove any inheritance for Emily. Set up specific trust provisions for Tyler. He's innocent in this. Second, we document everything leading up to the confrontation. Third, we decide, do you want to involve law enforcement or handle this privately? I thought about Tyler, my bright, sweet grandson who loved dinosaurs and asked me to read him stories about trains. If his mother went to jail, what would happen to him? Michael would get custody, certainly, but the scandal, the trauma. I want to handle this privately, I said, but I want Emily out of my life, completely, and I want Michael to know the truth. Then we need to plan this carefully, very carefully. Over the next week, Raymond and I built an airtight case. We compiled the voice message, evidence of conspiracy and intent to defraud, the doorbell and interior camera footage, evidence of illegal entry and document theft. My detailed journal entries, establishing a timeline of suspicious behavior. Bank statements showing the $45,000 down payment I'd given them, establishing my financial contribution to their home. Text messages, where Emily pushed me to make financial changes. Witnesses' statements from Virginia, Margaret, and the bank teller who'd spoken with Emily. The secret property appraisal Emily had ordered on my house. Raymond's investigator found the record. Raymond also hired a private investigator. Yes, like in the movies. Except this man was 60 years old with a bad knee and drove a Honda Civic. His name was Frank, and in 3 days he discovered that Emily had been having an affair with a man named Gerald Hutchinson for 6 months. Gerald was a divorced financial planner with a history of targeting wealthy clients. Frank got photos, restaurant receipts, even security footage from Gerald's apartment building showing Emily entering and leaving. "Dorothy," Raymond said gently when he showed me the evidence, "this is bigger than we thought. Emily isn't just a gold digger. She's working with someone who's done this before." Gerald has been named in 2 previous civil suits for financial manipulation. He preys on wealthy women, but apparently he's adapted his model to target wealthy elderly people through their family members. I felt sick. Does Michael know about the affair? We don't think so. All evidence suggests he's completely in the dark. On September 20th, 8 days after the voice message, I invited Michael and Emily to Sunday dinner, just like normal. I made pot roast, Michael's favorite, mashed potatoes with real butter, green beans from my garden, apple pie for dessert. Tyler was with Emily's parents. I'd specifically asked her to arrange that, saying I wanted adult time with my son and daughter-in-law. She'd agreed, probably thinking this was her chance to push whatever new financial scheme she had planned. They arrived at 5 p.m. Emily was wearing a blue dress I'd complimented before. She hugged me warmly. "Mom, something smells amazing." "Mom." She called me Mom. I returned the hug, feeling like Judas. Michael looked tired. He worked long hours at the accounting firm, trying for that partner position. He kissed my cheek. "Hey, Ma. You doing okay? You sounded serious on the phone." "I'm fine, sweetheart. Come sit. Let's eat first." We made small talk over dinner. Emily told me about Tyler's soccer game. Michael complained about his boss. I asked about their upcoming anniversary plans. It all felt surreal, like watching a play where I knew the ending but the actors didn't. After dessert, I served coffee in the living room. Then I said, "I need to talk to you both about something important." Emily smiled brightly. "Of course, Mom. What is it?" I pulled out my tablet. "Michael, sweetheart, I need you to listen to something. It's important." I played the voice message. Michael's face went through several emotions: confusion, disbelief, shock, and finally, devastating hurt. The color drained from his face. That's Emily's voice. But this can't be." Emily lunged for the tablet. "That's fake. This is doctored. Who put you up to this? Was it that bitch Virginia?" I pulled the tablet away. "It came from your WhatsApp, Emily. September 12th, 8:47 a.m. You sent it to me by mistake. You meant to send it to Brittany, or maybe to Gerald." "Gerald?" Michael's voice was hoarse. "Who the hell is Gerald?" I nodded to Raymond, who'd been waiting in the kitchen. He walked in carrying a briefcase full of evidence. "Michael, I'm Raymond Prescott. I'm your mother's attorney. And I think you need to see some things." For the next hour, we showed Michael everything. The affair, the illegal entry into my house, the conspiracy, the pattern of manipulation. Every piece of evidence laid out like a case file. Emily tried to leave twice. The second time, Raymond said calmly, "Emily, you should know that if you leave now, I'm filing a police report within the hour for elder fraud, conspiracy to commit financial exploitation, and unlawful entry. You'll be arrested. If you stay and we can work out an agreement, we might be able to handle this privately." She sat back down, her face twisted with rage. Michael was crying. My strong, successful son was sitting on my couch, sobbing like a child. "How could you? Mom helped us with the house. She babysits Tyler. She loves you. How could you do this?" You were never going to amount to anything, Emily spat. The mask was completely off now. Still working 60-hour weeks for a middle management salary at 40 years old. Your mother was the only asset you had worth anything, and you were too stupid to see it. Michael flinched like he'd been slapped. That's enough, I said quietly. Emily, here's what's going to happen. You're going to sign divorce papers. Michael will get full custody of Tyler. You're going to take nothing from this marriage except your personal belongings and your car. You will not contest the prenup. You will not ask for alimony or child support. She laughed. Or what? You think I'm scared of you? Raymond opened another folder. Or we release this evidence to the police and the media. Grand theft, fraud, conspiracy to commit elder abuse. You're looking at 3 to 5 years in prison, Emily. Gerald Hutchinson is already being investigated by the Financial Crimes Unit. He's done this before. You're a small fish, but they'll prosecute you as an example. The laughter died. You're bluffing. Try me, I said. And she must have seen something in my face, because her expression changed. What about Tyler? Her voice cracked, just a little. For the first time that evening, I felt something like pity. Tyler stays with Michael. You can have supervised visitation until Michael decides otherwise. I'll set up a trust fund for Tyler's education and expenses. You'll have no access to it. You can't keep me from my son. I'm not keeping you from your son. Your choices did that. You can either accept this agreement, or you can go to jail and lose him anyway. Your choice. She looked at Michael, who wouldn't meet her eyes. She looked at Raymond, who had his phone out, ready to dial. She looked at me, and I saw the calculation in her eyes. I need it in writing, she finally said. We had the papers ready. Of course we did. Raymond had prepared 3 scenarios, and this was option 2. Emily signed everything that night. The divorce papers, the custody agreement, a non-disclosure agreement that prevented her from speaking about my finances or this situation to anyone, backed by a $250,000 penalty clause. When she left at 11:37 p.m., Michael was still sitting on my couch, staring at nothing. I sat next to him and took his hand, like I used to when he was small. I'm sorry, sweetheart. I'm so sorry you had to find out this way. You protected me, he whispered. You knew for weeks, and you protected me. That's what mothers do. He stayed at my house that night. We talked until 3 a.m. I told him everything. Every suspicion, every piece of evidence, every moment of doubt. I also told him that I didn't blame him, that he'd done nothing wrong, that being trusting and loving wasn't a weakness. But I was so stupid, he said. All those things she suggested, the power of attorney, adding my name to your accounts, I thought I was protecting you. I thought I was being a good son. You were being a good son. She manipulated both of us. The difference is, I had distance and perspective. You were in love with her. The divorce was finalized in 60 days. Emily didn't contest anything. Gerald Hutchinson was arrested 2 months later for defrauding 3 elderly clients of over $800,000. Emily wasn't charged. Our agreement included her cooperation with the investigation in exchange for immunity. Michael moved into my guest room for 3 months while he got back on his feet. Tyler came to stay every weekend. We established routines, the 3 of us. Saturday morning pancakes, Sunday afternoon movies, evening walks in Riverside Park. Tyler asked about his mother once. Grammy, why doesn't Mommy live with us anymore? I chose my words carefully. Sometimes adults make choices that hurt the people they love. Your mommy made some choices that hurt your daddy, but she still loves you, and you'll still see her. Do you still love her, Grammy? I thought about that. I loved the person I thought she was, but I learned she wasn't really that person. He nodded solemnly, too wise for 6 years old. Daddy cries sometimes at night. I hear him. My heart broke. I know, sweetheart, but he's going to be okay. We're all going to be okay. And we were. Michael got his promotion 6 months later. He moved into a nice apartment closer to his office, but he and Tyler came for Sunday dinner every week. Tyler started calling my house the fun house because I let him help with baking, and we had a special drawer just for his art supplies. The Golden Girls WhatsApp group celebrated my victory, but we also mourned together. Because the truth is, even when you win, you lose something. I lost the family I thought I had. I lost the daughter-in-law I'd loved. I lost the innocence of trusting fully. But I gained something too. I gained the respect of my son, who now saw me not just as his mother, but as a strong woman who'd protected him. I gained a deeper relationship with Tyler, built on truth rather than pretense. I gained the solidarity of other women who'd faced similar battles and survived. And I gained something else. The knowledge that at 72 years old, I was still capable, still sharp, still powerful. They'd seen me as an easy mark, a confused old woman whose assets were there for the taking. Instead, they discovered that this confused old woman had outsmarted them all. Virginia says I should write a book. Margaret says I should teach a class on elder protection. Beatrice says I should just be proud of myself, and that's enough. I think Beatrice is right. These days I still take my morning walks. I still meet Virginia for coffee. I still tend my garden and drive my Honda Accord and manage my own finances. But now I also attend a monthly support group for seniors dealing with financial exploitation. I share my story. I help others document their cases. I've become something of a local expert on elder fraud prevention. Raymond and I co-taught a seminar at the senior center last month. 42 people attended. 3 of them approached me afterward with their own stories of manipulation and exploitation. I listened, took notes, gave them Raymond's card, and added them to our WhatsApp group. This is my retirement now, not the quiet, gentle fade into invisibility that Emily had imagined for me. Instead, I'm busier than ever, fighting for dignity and justice for people like me. Michael worries sometimes that I'm taking on too much. Last week he said, "Mom, you don't have to save everyone. You've already done so much." I smiled at him. "Sweetheart, I'm not trying to save everyone. I'm just making sure people know they don't have to accept being treated as invisible, that they can fight back. That being old doesn't mean being helpless." He hugged me. "You're amazing, Ma. I'm sorry I didn't see that before." "You always saw it," I said. "You just forgot for a while." The house is quiet now as I write this. It's a Tuesday morning, exactly 1 year and 1 week since the voice message that changed everything. The sun is streaming through the same lace curtains, making the same patterns on the oak table. But everything else is different. I'm different. I know now what I'm capable of. I know that dignity isn't granted. It's claimed. I know that love without respect is manipulation. I know that being elderly doesn't mean being vulnerable, as long as you're willing to fight. And I know that sometimes the best revenge isn't dramatic or explosive. Sometimes it's simply refusing to be the victim in someone else's story. It's standing up and saying, "No, not me, not today." Emily sees Tyler once a month now, supervised visits at a family center. She's dating someone new, another divorced professional. I hope for her sake she's changed, but I don't think about her much anymore. Gerald Hutchinson was sentenced to 7 years in prison. I attended the sentencing hearing, sitting in the back row with Virginia and Margaret. The judge said something I'll never forget. Elder financial exploitation is not a victimless crime. It destroys trust, damages families, and steals not just money, but dignity from our most vulnerable citizens. I wasn't vulnerable, but I could have been, and that's why this work matters. Tyler is 7 now. He doesn't remember much about when his parents were together. To him, this is normal. Grammy's house on Sundays, Daddy's apartment during the week, occasional visits with Mom. He's happy, well-adjusted, loved. Last Sunday, he was helping me make cookies when he said, "Grammy, Billy at school says his grandma is old and can't do anything. What did you tell him? I asked, helping him measure flour. I told him my Grammy is old too, but she can do everything. She drives and cooks and has a WhatsApp group and knows lawyers and everything. I told him your Grammy must be different. I laughed until I cried. That's right, sweetheart. All Grammys are different. You're the best kind, he said seriously. The strong kind. Out of the mouths of babes. So I ask you now, reading this story, would you have forgiven them? Or would you have stood your ground like I did? Sometimes I wonder if younger people understand what it's like to be treated as invisible in your own family, to have your competence questioned, your decisions second-guessed, your entire life reduced to numbers in a bank account. Do you see the elderly people in your life? Really see them? Not as burdens or resources, but as human beings with dignity, wisdom, and the right to control their own lives? Because we're still here. We're still fighting. We're still strong. And we're not going anywhere.